Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I've got another brand new set to show you from the Art Impressions Spring 2022 line. And we're going to create an easel card today. And in my last video I showed you this door set combined with the Easter add-on set. Today we're going to be using the Farmhouse add-on. So here's that front porch door set. And this comes with the coordinating dies for the doorway, that welcome mat, and that little lantern. And then you get those cute little sentiments as well. And the die will cut out the little window panes there, and it will also allow that door to open and close. Now this one here is the front porch farmhouse set. So this is an add-on set, and that's the one we're going to be using today. So just keep in mind that these two sets are sold separately, but once you have that front porch door set, you can add on any of the new collection to that set. Let's go ahead and do some coloring. We're going to start off with this little wreath. I'm using yellow, mid green, and olive green. I'm putting a little bit of yellow down first, then the mid green, and then the darker green. And then I'll blend these together. I want to give a little highlight of that yellow color in there. And I did the same thing off camera all the way around for that wreath. Now I'm taking that yellow and those same two greens again, and I'm going to do the leaves on my little potted plant here. And I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens to do my coloring here. And these are a water-based marker, and I'm blending them using the Zig blender pen, but you could also use a water brush here as well. Now to do my stamping, I stamped on the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And for ink, I use the Versafine Onyx black ink, which is a permanent black ink. So let's continue coloring this in. I'm using the yellow, the green, and a little bit of that olive green, just for a little bit of shadowing here. Again, I'm using that blender pen to do my blending. So I'm just kind of pulling that darker color right out towards the tips of those leaves. Now to clean off your blender pen, you just scribble it on your scrap paper until it goes clear, and then you'll know that it's clean to change to your next color. And here I've switched to the deep red. I'm adding a little shadow to each side of this container, and then I'll just pull in towards the center. And you can come in and keep adding more and more shadows here. So I'm just going to use the one color, but I'm going to apply that to the edges a couple of times to get that shadowing that I'm looking for. I'll use that same red on this little stool here. And again, I'm going kind of for a farmhouse Americana kind of theme today. I thought it would be fun to add some stars above the doorway and just kind of give this a really rustic look to it. So I'm sticking to the red, white, and blue theme, and then I have my greenery for some additional color. Now for the little candle, I'm going back to that same red again. Now I'm going to switch to that brick beige to do this little milk can. Again, I'll keep the color towards both sides and then pull in towards the center, and then I'll keep going back to that same color and adding my shadows. So you can use 2 or 3 colors to do your shadowing, but in this case I'm just going to use that one. And now I've got the blue-gray, and I'm adding that to just to a couple of these little areas on this milk can. And now I'll go to the mustard to do my little flowers. So now keep in mind there are several sets, add-on sets to this brand new front porch door set. We've got the garden set and the Easter set, which I did in a previous video. This is the farmhouse set, and then there's also a party set. So I'll be doing some videos on the rest of these in the future. And there are some other new products in this new spring 2022 release as well. So you want to check those out. So I'll have everything listed and linked down below, all the products I'm using today. And they'll also be listed and linked on my blog. So I'm going to keep the shadows on the top and bottom of this little sign. And then I'll go back to that blue-gray and do this little bow. I'm going to be placing that bow right on that wreath there. And then for shadowing, I'm coming in with that peacock blue. And I'll just pull that out towards the edges, just leaving that center area the darkest. I'm going back to that same peacock blue, and I just love that color. I just think this color is so pretty. So I'm going to use that for my little lantern. You could have used a gray here too, or even a white with a little bit of shadowing. So, and then I'm adding a little yellow there just to brighten it up for the light on the candle. And then I'll blend that out. Now for the greenery here on this little plant, I'm going back to the yellow, mid-green, and olive green to blend these out. So I'll just show you this little section here, and then I'll do the rest of those off camera. And a little mustard and mid-brown for the trunk of these little trees. So now that that's all colored in, let me finish doing this little planter here. And I'm just going to use the mustard color for that, and I'll use that same color for the little welcome sign as well. And then for shadowing on the welcome sign, I'm going back to that mid-brown. So there you can see up close we have everything all colored in. Now let's go ahead and color in our front door. So I'm going back to the blue-gray. Now when you're blending out some of these larger areas, I like to lay down a little bit of color and then just do my first blending. Just kind of blend in from the top and the bottom, and then I can come back in with my shadowing. So there, I just thought it was too light. So now I'm going to add a little bit more color and then continue pulling that up towards the top there until I get that look that I'm going for. So now that that's all set, I'm going to grab the brick beige to do the doorknob. I'm also using that brick beige down here on the patio, and I'm placing that color up towards the edge of the door, and then I'll just pull it out towards the edges. And I'll just quickly add some shadows here and there just to give it a little bit more dimension. And I know I mentioned in my last video, I absolutely love these doorways. I just think these are so pretty. And think of the other sets that you have that you can incorporate into this. Anything from that little matchbook series would work really well scale wise on these. So kind of look through your sets and see what else you might have, other things that you could incorporate into these little doorways. So here I'm using the light gray, just adding just a really light shadow here. Then we'll be bringing some of that red in behind these windows, because when we use the die to die cut this out, as I mentioned before, it will cut out all those little window panes there. So we'll put some red behind there, make it look like a red curtain, and that'll just tie everything together. So the next thing we want to do is create the background for our card. So I'm using this Altenew 3D embossing folder, and this is called Deck Planks. And you can see that it's got all this beautiful wood grain texture to it. So I've got a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. I cut this 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that's just to get started here. And then I'm using my Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to place it on the top side of this embossing folder. So I've just looked for that indexing on the front. I'm opening up the folder, and I'm inking up that top portion of the embossing folder. So that's going to press that ink right down into our cardstock. So I've placed my cardstock in the embossing folder, and then I want to run that through the die cutting machine. So you can see on the Spellbinders Platinum 6, you want your platform, then your embossing folder with your cardstock, and then this embossing plate on top. So I'm going to go ahead and run that through. I'm running that through about 3 or 4 times. That's just to make sure that I transfer that ink onto the cardstock. And what that's going to do is give some more dimension to those little planks in the cardstock. Now I'm going to go back to that Hickory Smoke and add a little bit of that color over the top of these little planks. But I did decide that wasn't quite enough. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through the embossing machine again. And I can easily do that. So you can see here, I thought it was just a little bit light. So here's where I decided to run this back through. So I'm going to ink the embossing folder up again, and then I'll place my paper right back in place here. It'll lock right into place, and I can run that through again. Now you can easily wash your embossing folder off when you're done. So you just want to wipe that off with a baby wipe or with a towel, and you're good to go for your next embossing. So now you can see that's a little bit darker there. And now I'm just going to take that foam applicator tool without adding any ink to it and just blend that out a little bit. And now you can see we have that beautiful wood grain texture. So here's where I'm just going to rinse that off quickly. I'm just spritzing it with a little bit of water from my Distress sprayer, and I'll just wipe that down. So let's go ahead and grab the coordinating dies, and these are the dies that come with this set. We're not going to be using the lantern or the little welcome mat today. So I'm just going to use that door. I'm taping the die down with some purple tape, and I'll run that through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And again, that will cut out all those little windows. And it will also create the door. The door will open and close. It creates a little fold line right along the edge of the door there. But we're not going to be using that today. But I did want to show you that it does create that door, interactive door. So now I'll tape down the dies that go with the Farmhouse front porch set, and we'll run those through the die cutting machine as well. I'm going to just cut down another piece of cardstock at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is the same size as that wood grain panel that we created. I just wanted to thicken that up a little bit, so I glued those two together. Now going back to the deep red marker that we used before, I'm just going to color in a little panel that will fit right behind that window there. I'm quickly heat setting that. I don't want to transfer any of that red ink onto anything, and I'll position that behind the window. I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to glue this in place. Now you could also put some red behind that arched window, but I'm going to leave that for now. Now I've got my watercolor Petite paper pack in the rainbow colors, and I'm going to take this green color here, and that's just to create a little grassy border right by the front door. And I've got my peeled paint Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to use a sponge dauber to add a little bit of ink to the top of that grassy border. I can go ahead and glue that to the front of the panel, and this measures about 1/2 inch by 5 1/2 inches. So now you can see my door is all set. Let's go ahead and glue that down, and again I'm going to glue the door shut in this case. Now, if you take a look at the Easter door that I created, I left the door open so that you could possibly put a sentiment behind there or add a few other cute little images there as well. So let's go ahead and glue this down. So once that's all set, we can start adding all of our other cute little pieces here. So I'll use the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to attach some of these flat to the card. And then I'm also going to use some of the Scotch foam mounting tape to pop up a few of these items. So I'll just kind of get my placement here. I like to just lay everything out. I move it around several times just to kind of see what layout I like the best. And then I can continue attaching everything. So what I also want to do here with this card is create an easel card. So I'll show you how I did that. It's very simple and easy to do, but that'll make this card pop up. It'll stand up on its own. So it's going to look really pretty when the front door is kind of standing up. And then we're going to do a heart-shaped sentiment for the inside of our card. So let me finish putting this together and then I'll meet you on the other side of that. So for my sentiment, I'm going to use the Infinity dies from Hero Arts, and these are the heart-shaped ones. And I'll take this one that fits right around my sentiment that says Home Sweet Home. I'll position that down with a little bit of purple tape, and I'll run that through the die cutting machine. I did die cut an extra one because I want this to be fairly thick. This is going to be what holds our easel card in place. So I want to add a little bit more bulk to this. Just color in that little heart with the deep red marker, and then I'll just blend that out very quickly here. Now let's go back to that hickory smoke, and I'm going to apply a little bit of that color all the way around that heart shape. Now I'll grab the second largest die from the Rectangle A2 double stitch dies from Art Impressions. And I'm going to be die cutting that out of some cardstock from the Lawn Fawn paper pack. And this one is called Rainbow. And this is a 100-pound paper. And I'll be grabbing that one there that's called Blue Jay. So I've placed that on a little bit of an angle, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. So that'll sit on the inside of our card. I'm going to go ahead and glue that in place, and I'm just centering it there. This is a standard A2 size card. It measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that little sentiment, that heart-shaped sentiment, will sit on the inside of our card, and we're going to be popping that up. So let's go ahead and put some foam mounting tape on the back of this. And I'm going to double that up. So I did double up, so I have 2 layers of the foam mounting tape there. So that'll sit up nicely on the inside of our card. So now we just need to score one more time on the front of our card. So this is the front panel, and I'm going to score it right down the middle here. So at 2 1/8. So I went ahead and scored that, and then I folded that front panel in half. So now we can attach this card panel to the front, and we're going to just put glue right along this from the fold line down. And we want to make sure we have plenty of glue, and I want to make sure that it's right up along that edge. So I'm just going to spread that out with my finger a little bit, and then we can position our card panel in place. So we're just lining those up. So now I can go ahead and attach my sentiment to the inside of the card. And I'm placing that up just a little bit. You want to place that in the best position for your easel card to stand up nice and tall. So now let's grab the matchbook template die set, and I'm just going to use this little star from this set. And I went ahead and just colored my cardstock with some red and blue inks that we used before, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut 3 little stars. I did 2 in red and 1 in the blue, and we're going to put those right above the doorway here. And I thought that would just add kind of to our Americana theme that we have going here. And you can also see that I used a white gel pen just to add a few highlights here and there. So let's take a closer look at the finished card. And don't forget to check out the card that I did with the Easter door. I'll link to that down below as well if you want to check that out. And also some of the other new products that have come out in the Art Impressions Spring 2022 line. So if you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.